As we wrap up, just one other thing I want to ask, which is anything you're reading or that you read recently, or like a podcast you've listened to that really has been a kind of had a profound effect on you in terms of thinking of your thinking and approach to your work around shifting power?
Well, two things that I'll say. One, my absolute favorite podcast is Throughline by NPR.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a good podcast, one, because of its narrative power, its long form, but it is a podcast that really attempts to connect the dots, like to really bring us to how did we get here? So that's the fundamental question that they're trying to posit. How did we get here? Wherever here is, whether it is about the state of our democracy, the role of our Supreme Court, whatever it is, right? So how did we get here is the fundamental question. And what they do is they really sort of track back through history to see what were the decisions, what were the origins that sort of happened along the way, and the decisions that were made along the way that helped us to really understand our present state. So I really have enjoyed Throughline because it's not only educational, but it's really, really rich in narrative power. And I will say that my recent trip to Montgomery really underscored that. Having now visited the Legacy Museum, the Peace and Justice Memorial, the power of long form narrative, I think, is such a powerful intervention in what is now very commonplace reels, right? Like we get our stories and our intelligence through very short, quick, often incomplete sort of narrative that is designed to just sort of feed almost like an instant gratification,
Yeah.
but the ability to really sit in a narrative, to really understand the origin and the history and the ripple effects of one decision upon another decision upon another decision, to really understand why we are where we are, is so, so powerful. And it reinforces why narrative is such an incredible tool of power building, and why those who actually want to further promulgate oppression and a hierarchy of racial difference, why they use narrative so effectively, because they do understand the power of narrative and the power that narrative has to really calcify culture. And so I think as we get more sophisticated as those who are actually concerned about dismantling the effects of supremacy culture, we have to get more sophisticated and more committed to the long narrative telling, the development of the story, the ability to really understand the history and the impact and the implications of our decisions, and why we have to advance a kind of a new narrative, and why we have to advance a new paradigm and a new culture and a new way of thinking if we really are going to transform systems of oppression into possibilities of liberation.